Welcome to Magnificat TV news program dedicated to providing news from the church. Today is Wednesday, March 20th, 2024, and these are our headlines. The Pope has ordered the creation of 10 commissions that will analyze the controversial issues that arose in the first part of the Synod of Synodality. The bishop in charge of vocations in Ireland has denied that the end of celibacy is a solution to the lack of vocations to the priesthood. Cardinal Parolin intervened to clarify the Pope's words concerning the peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. Ireland has decided, in a referendum, not to modify in its constitution neither the concept of family or the role of women in the home. The Pope has ordered that the controversial issues that surface at the Synod and Synodality be studied by commissions and not in the Synod itself. The Pope has sent a letter to Cardinal Grech, Secretary General of the Synod, asking him to organize 10 study commissions on issues that proved to be controversial in the first stage of the Synod and Synodality. The conclusions should be ready by June 2025. In the letter to Cardinal Grech, the Pope said the synthesis report lists many important theological questions, all of them related in varying degrees to the synodal renewal of the Church, and not without juridical and pastoral implications. These questions, by their very nature, he noted, require in-depth study. Since it will not be possible to carry out this study in the time of the Second Synod, which will take place on October the 2nd to 27th, 2024, the Pope said, I arranged for them to be assigned to specific study groups so that they can be properly examined. The Pope said the study groups will offer an initial report of their activities in the second session and will seek, if possible, to conclude their mandate by June 2025. With this measure, it will allow the Assembly in its second session to focus more easily on the general theme that I assigned to it at the time, and which can now be summed up in the question, how to be a synodal church in mission? The 10 themes outlined by the Pope are the following: some aspects concerning relations between Eastern Catholic churches and the Latin Church, listening to the cry of the poor, mission in the digital environment, the revision of norms in the selection of candidates to the priesthood, some theological and canonical questions regarding specific ministerial forms, including the female diaconate, the revision of the relationships between bishops, consecrated life, ecclesial aggregations, some aspects of the figure and ministry of the bishop, in particular, the criteria for the selection of candidates to the episcopate, the role of the pontifical representatives in a missionary synodal perspective, theological criteria, and synodal methodologies for a shared discernment on controversial doctrinal, pastoral, and ethical issues, the reception of the fruits of the ecumenical journey in an ecclesial praxis. For the bishop in charge of vocations in Ireland, the solution to the crisis of vocations to the priesthood does not lie in the end of celibacy. Bishop Cullinan, Bishop of Waterford and Lismore, and President of the Vocations Council of the Irish Bishops' Conference, has warned that the solution to the lack of vocations to the priesthood evident in the country does not lie in the abolition of celibacy and the ordination of married men. Compromises between family and parish can cause a battle of the heart for married priests, the bishop said, warning against a quick fix to fix the problem of the lack of vocations. Bishop Cullinan stated that many people put it forward as a solution, but you have to sit down and think it through very carefully. In my conversation with a Protestant clergywoman, she told me that in every Protestant minister's marriage, there's always a conflict between family and parish commitments. What do you do when the son or a daughter wants to be taken out for sports and there is a church function at the time? A dilemma arises. You have that battle in your heart. To give yourself completely to your parish or to give yourself completely to your family. Besides that, of course, how many marriages are breaking up now? Do we seriously think that if priests could marry, they would be different? What do we do if then someone who is separated from his wife is trying to minister in a parish? Ireland is suffering a very sharp decline in the number of priests, which it cannot make up with new vocations. One of its dioceses has not celebrated any priestly ordinations for more than 10 years. Cardinal Pirlin has clarified that the Pope is not asking Ukraine to surrender to Russia, but to have the courage to enter into peace negotiations. The controversy does not stop after Pope Francis' statements on the Ukrainian war to assist television station. The Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, reproached the pontiff for trying to mediate between those who want to live and those who want to destroy us. The European Commission also replied to the Pope, assuring him that peace does not depend on Ukraine but on Putin. Cardinal Pirlin has tried to explain the meaning of what Francis said. As the director of the Vatican Press Office recalls, citing the Holy Father's words on February 25th, the pontiff's appeal is that conditions be created for a diplomatic solution in search of a just and lasting peace. In this sense, it is obvious that the creation of such conditions is not the responsibility of only one of the parties, but both. And the first condition seems to me to be precisely that of putting an end to the aggression. We must never forget the context, and in this case, the question to put the Pope, who in response spoke of negotiation and in particular of the value of negotiation, which is never a surrender, he added. The Holy See continues in this line and continues to call for a ceasefire, and the aggressors should be the first to cease fire, and therefore the opening of negotiations. The Holy Father explains that negotiating is not weakness, but strength. It is not surrender, but courage, concluded the Secretary of State. Ireland has voted in a referendum in favor of maintaining the constitution of the traditional concept of family and the role of women in the home. In an unexpected twist, Irish voters have cast a resounding no vote in March 8th referendums, marking a stunning setback for proposals in constitutional change that address crucial issues such as the definition of family. In two referendums held on March 8th on changes to the Irish constitutions, Irish voters surprisingly voted no, with a 44% turnout. The no vote won 67% of the vote. The government had proposed separating the definition of family from the institution of marriage and basing it instead on the lasting relationships, following the recommendation of Citizens' Council on Gender Equality. In addition, an article emphasizing the domestic work of mothers was to be deleted, and in its place, education and care would be assigned to family members in general. Today, the Constitution declares that the state undertakes to preserve the institution of marriage, on which the family is founded, with special care and to protect it from any attacks. The government had proposed inserting half a sentence for the state to recognize that the family, whether based on marriage or other durable relationships, constitutes the fundamental unit of society. Consequently, the sentence that marriage is the cornerstone of the family should have been deleted from the Constitution. The Second Amendment concerns the scope of care. The Irish Constitution now recognizes that by living in the home, women provide the state with support without which the common good cannot be achieved. It is therefore the duty of the state to ensure that mothers are not compelled by economic necessity to work outside the home in order to fulfill their duties in the home. Both articles should have been deleted and replaced with the following wording. The state recognizes that the provision of care by family members, because of their mutual connection, provides support to the state without which the common good cannot be achieved. The state shall endeavor to support this provision. Our editorial this week is dedicated to commenting on the solutions being offered to the crisis between the Vatican and the German bishop.
The Synodal Revolution deactivated. The Pope has decided that at the next session of the Synod of Bishops, the second to head on the theme of synodality, which will take place, God willing, in October, no point, no conflict in argument will be dealt with. He has sent a letter to Cardinal Craig, who is the secretary of the president of the Secretariat of the Synod, asking him to draw up 10 study commissions, which will be dedicated precisely to work on these conflicting issues. Some of these more, and some of them less. But being aware it is impossible that by October these commissions will have been able to offer something finished, at least sufficiently concluded to the synodal members. In fact, 4 months have passed since the synod ended. Taking into account that it begins in October, there is very little time left, and with the summer in between, the constitution of these commissions have not been done before, which perhaps should have been done, and now is when it begins. The commissions will begin to prepare. When the section of those who will take part, those who will participate in each one of these 10 commissions is finished, the work will begin. All of that will require a lot of time. That is why the Pope has said in a letter he sent to Cardinal Craig that he is satisfied that in October these commissions will be constituted and will be able to give the synodal members simply a report of what they have been doing up to at that moment. And he is satisfied that by June of the year 25, each one of them will have already prepared a document, a final document. He himself, he says in the letter, if this is possible, I repeat, the Pope has deactivated the fuse of what was thought, or what some thought was going to be a revolutionary synod. In fact, now in the letter the Pope says that in this way the synods will be able to dedicate themselves to thinking about how the Church can be the synodal in mission. Well, this is of course an important topic, but certainly a priori. It is not all conflictive. We have to see what will happen later on. In this case, it is no longer of the same importance that in the synod there are lay people with the right to vote. And I say, it is not of the same importance because one of the criticisms that were made last year about these lay people with the right to vote is that many of them did not have sufficient theological competence to be able to decide about such important questions as the female priesthood, for example, on the illicitness of sexual relations with irregular couples. Now, in this case, it is a minor issue. The revolutionary fuse of the synod has been, it is certainly my opinion, has been deactivated. We will see in any case what happens in October. The Pope has decided, he himself has chosen the themes of these commissions. The Secretariat of the Synod will be in charge of preparing these study terms in collaboration with the respective Vatican dicasteries, doctrine of faith, or clergy, bishops, and so on. Ecumenism, well, the name of the commissions already tells us very well which are the problems that the Pope considers essential to confront. The first of these commissions have to study the relationship between the Eastern Catholic Churches and the Latin Church, a relationship that at the moment is a bit tense about the approval. The publication of Fiducia Supplicans because all the Eastern Catholic Churches have openly rejected that statement, that document. The next commission has to dedicate itself to seize the Pope's text to listen to the cry of the poor. I imagine it will be on issues of social justice. The third one is the mission in the digital environment, how to face evangelization in this 6th continent, that means the digital world. The next one, the revision of the criteria for the formation of priests. This will be a delicate topic, a surely conflicted topic, but one that in any case is already outside the synod, and I say it will be because in the document on the formation of the priest published in 2016, with Francis already serving as bishop, it is clearly stated that those who have a deep-rooted homosexual tendency, or those who are in favor of gay culture, and of course those who practice relationships, cannot enter the priesthood. It says it clearly. This has been repeatedly rejected, especially by the German bishops, but not only by them. Well, this commission will have to be in the charge of how the formation has to be and what conditions have to be required of the candidates who intend to become priests. Next commission, the access of women to the diaconate. It does not say it as such, it says the access of women to the different ministries. It is the subject of the diaconate, the female diaconate, if this diaconate is going to be a diaconate of service or a ministerial diaconate, what competencies it will have, etc. But this, I repeat, to a commission, well, in this case, it would already be the third or fourth commission that the Pope commissions on this topic. It will not enter into synod. The next commission, relations between the bishops, the religious and the movement. The next one, criteria for the selection of the bishop. The next, what is the role of the nuncio? There have also been a lot of criticism on this from some bishops. Then, the ecumenical dialogue, how it has to be at this moment with all the eastern parts, the Orthodox, the Copts, the Armenians. The situation is very bad. Practically, it has been broken precisely because of fiducial supplicants. And then the last commission is a sort of catch-all to put it in everything that is controversial. The Pope does not specify, but he says expressly to put everything, to study in that commission all the topics that are controversial, having already created one for the topic of homosexuality in the seminaries, another for the topic of female diaconate, here possibly the topic of irregular cohabitation without being married in the church. The Pope does not specify it. In any case, I repeat, the conflicted topics will not be dealt with in the next synod, in the October synod. The commissions will present their work in June 25, and the Pope says in the letter, if they have been able to conclude their work, in the previous synod last October, the Pope established and it was complied with a very strict law of silence, and he did it because he wanted the synod members to talk among themselves without being pressured by the media. Now it is more than a law of silence. They will not talk about what generally interests the media. But why has it come to this? It is perhaps because in the previous synod last October, the first part of the synod of synodality, because the previous synod did not produce the results that some wanted, those who thought that they were going to get what they were looking for, that is, the reform according to the German line, since the bishops did not go down that road and it was much less radical than what they expected, is the reason why this has happened, the reason why the next meeting in October has been deactivated. What is going to coordinate these study commissions? Does the Secretariat of the Synod become in this case a kind of theological superstructure about the doctrine of the faith, the clergy, the bishops? These are questions that remain in the air, of course. Besides, to whom are these commissions going to deliver their conclusions? To the Pope, and the Pope will decide afterwards. Or will this conclusion be delivered to another synod that will be convened for whenever? Well, maybe for October of the year 25, and there all or several of them will be debated. In any case, I insist, the October synod will no longer be what it was feared to be. It is not to be the liberal revolution advocated by the Germans. I do not know what it will look like to them, precisely because those topics on which they insist so much have been left off the agenda of the synod. I would like to end by asking once again for prayer for wars, for an end to wars. There is controversy over some words of the Pope about what is happening in Ukraine. We must focus on what is essential. We have to ask for peace. We have to ask for peace. Peace in Ukraine. Peace in the Holy Land. We have to ask for peace. Of course, peace together with justice. Let us pray for peace. It is the best thing we can do, and it is what we should do from a Catholic point of view. Until next week, God willing.
We will continue to keep you informed of what is happening in the church. In the meantime, you can check our website at www.magnificat.tv. Until next week, God willing.